Marriage under Muslim law is not merely a social relationship. It is a legal contract known as nikah. For a nikah to become legally valid, certain legal conditions must be satisfied. Muslim law recognizes several prohibitions or disabilities that restrict certain marriages. If these rules are violated, the marriage may become void, irregular, or unlawful. The 7 important disabilities include restrictions relating to number, religion, relationship, fosterage, unlawful conjunction, iddat, and miscellaneous prohibitions. These rules help preserve morality, family structure, and social order under Muslim law. One of the first disabilities discussed under Muslim law relates to the number of spouses. Muslim law recognizes 3 important concepts: polygamy, polyandry, and monogamy. When a man marries more than one wife at the same time, it is known as polygamy. Under Muslim law, a Muslim man is permitted to marry up to 4 wives. When a woman marries more than one husband at the same time, it is known as polyandry. Polyandry is not permitted under Muslim law. Thus, Muslim law permits limited polygamy for men, does not permit polyandry, and also recognizes monogamy. Let us now understand a case law relating to polyandry, Sabera Begum vs. G.M. Ansari. The issue before the court was whether a woman can legally contract a second marriage without obtaining a valid divorce from her first husband. In this case, a woman claimed that a man had promised to marry her after converting her to Islam. She stated that verses from the Quran were recited and her name was changed to Sabera Begum. Later, she also claimed that a Muslim marriage ceremony had taken place in the presence of witnesses and a qazi. However, when the matter came before the court, important witnesses were not examined. The persons who were allegedly present during the conversion and marriage ceremony were not produced before the court. Even the qazi who allegedly performed the marriage was not examined. The nikahnama and marriage records were also not produced. The court observed that under Muslim law, a valid marriage requires a proper proposal and acceptance in the presence of required witnesses. Since the essential requirements of a valid Muslim marriage were not proved, the court held that the petitioner failed to establish a valid marriage. The judgment highlighted that mere claims of conversion or marriage are not sufficient unless the essential legal requirements of Muslim marriage are properly proved. Another important disability under Muslim law relates to religion. Under Muslim law, marriage is generally expected to take place between Muslims. However, certain exceptions are recognized. A Muslim man is permitted to marry a Muslim woman as well as a Kitabiya woman. The term Kitabiya refers to women belonging to religions having a revealed holy book, such as Christianity and Judaism. Thus, a Muslim man may legally marry a Christian or Jewish woman under Muslim law. However, a Muslim woman is not permitted to marry a non-Muslim man unless he converts to Islam. These rules were developed to preserve religious identity, family structure, and continuity of personal law within marriage. For example, if a Muslim man marries a Christian woman through a valid nikah, the marriage may be recognized under Muslim law. But if a Muslim woman marries a non-Muslim man without conversion, legal complications may arise regarding validity of marriage. Thus, religion plays an important role in determining the validity of marriage under Muslim law. Another important disability under Muslim law relates to prohibited relationships. Under Muslim law, certain marriages are prohibited because the parties are closely related by blood or family relationship. These prohibitions are based on the principle of consanguinity, which means blood relationship. A Muslim man cannot marry his mother, grandmother, daughter, granddaughter, sister, aunt, or niece. Similarly, marriages between close blood relatives are prohibited because such relationships are considered unlawful under Muslim law. These rules were developed to preserve morality, family structure, and lawful social relationships within society. Another important disability under Muslim law relates to fosterage. Fosterage means a relationship created when a woman breastfeeds a child during infancy. Under Muslim law, this relationship is treated similar to a blood relationship for certain marriage restrictions. The woman who breastfeeds the child becomes the foster mother, and her children become foster brothers and sisters of that child. As a result, marriage between such persons is prohibited under Muslim law. These rules were developed to preserve family morality, dignity, and respect for relationships formed through care and upbringing. Thus, fosterage creates a legal prohibition on certain marriages under Muslim law. Another important disability under Muslim law relates to unlawful conjunction. Unlawful conjunction means a situation where a man marries two women at the same time who are so closely related to each other that they could not have married each other if one of them were male. Under Muslim law, such marriages are prohibited because they may disturb family harmony and create conflicts within close relationships. For example, a Muslim man cannot marry two sisters at the same time. Similarly, he cannot marry a woman and her niece together during the continuance of the first marriage. However, if the first marriage ends due to divorce or death, the restriction may no longer continue. These rules were developed to maintain peace, dignity, and healthy family relations within society. Thus, unlawful conjunction acts as an important restriction on valid Muslim marriages. Another important disability under Muslim law relates to Iddat. Iddat is a mandatory waiting period which a Muslim woman must observe after divorce or after the death of her husband before entering into another marriage. The purpose of Iddat is to maintain respect for the previous marriage and to determine whether the woman is pregnant, so that issues relating to legitimacy and inheritance may be avoided. During the period of Iddat, the woman is prohibited from contracting another marriage. If a marriage is contracted during Iddat, the marriage becomes irregular under Muslim law. Generally, the period of Iddat after divorce is 3 menstrual courses, while after the death of the husband it is 4 months and 10 days. If the woman is pregnant, the Iddat period continues until the delivery of the child. For example, if a divorced Muslim woman marries another person immediately without completing her Iddat period, such marriage may not be considered legally proper under Muslim law. These rules were developed to preserve dignity, lineage, and social order within family relations. Thus, Iddat acts as an important restriction in contracting a valid Muslim marriage. Apart from the major disabilities already discussed, Muslim law also recognizes certain miscellaneous prohibitions relating to marriage. One important rule relates to equality between spouses. Under traditional Muslim law, a guardian could object to a marriage if the husband was considered unequal in social status, character, or profession. This concept was connected with maintaining family dignity and social compatibility. Another prohibition relates to illicit relationship or undue familiarity. Muslim law discourages situations where improper intimacy or unlawful relationship exists between parties before marriage, as such conduct may affect morality and family discipline. Another restriction applies during pilgrimage. A person who is in the sacred state of Ihram during pilgrimage to Mecca is prohibited from contracting a marriage. The purpose of this rule is to preserve the spiritual purity and religious focus of pilgrimage. Another important restriction relates to marriage during Iddat period. A Muslim woman observing Iddat after divorce or death of her husband cannot validly contract another marriage during that period. These miscellaneous prohibitions were developed to preserve dignity, morality, equality, and social order within family life. Thus, Muslim law imposes several additional restrictions to ensure that marriage remains a lawful and responsible institution.